There's a story of a priest who was the pastor in a downtown parish in a big city, cathedral. The rector at a downtown parish in a big city. And he would often go down into the street because not far from the cathedral, there would be prostitutes who would walk up and down looking for business. And he would go there and talk with them, pray with them, get to know them, try to get them out of that lifestyle. Oftentimes to be a listening ear. But he saw them as his parishioners, and canonically they were. But he wanted to minister to them. And one day, he went down there to chat with them again, and as the world we live in now, the crazy world we live in now, he went down there, and one of the prostitutes, he couldn't quite tell if it was a man or a woman. Kind of looking at them, and this person with a wig on and high heels looked at him with a low voice, said, "What are you looking at? What do you think you're looking at?" And that question is loaded with, I think, anger and some defensiveness, and we can understand that. What are you looking at? That question is sometimes asked on prison yards, in playgrounds, when someone is staring at another person that can often be seen as a threat, and they might ask, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" And I've seen this in schools where a kid will look at another kid and the kid will say the same thing. "What are you looking at?" And the retort is sometimes, "Well, I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure that out." Both of those are kind of laced with anger, insult, and maybe even a little defensiveness. But it does, for me, open up a truth that sometimes we look at people, they look at us, we look at things, events, and we really don't know what we're looking at. Or sometimes they don't know what they're looking at. They don't have appreciation of what's before their eyes. We had a young lady who was one of those exchange students. I think she was from Norway or Sweden or somewhere, Scandinavia. And the kids invited her to a high school football game. And she went, and she saw the kids cheering and wasn't sure what was going on. And they asked her, what did you think? Did you enjoy the game? She said, I don't know what I was looking at. I don't know what's going on. She couldn't appreciate it because she didn't know much about it. Now, this has happened to me. For a little while in my life, I went to school in England for a little while. I was able to do that. And on the field outside, people were playing cricket. And every once in a while in the cafeteria there'd be a TV with a cricket game going on. People be cheering. And I was looking, I didn't know what I was looking at. They would ask, "Do you enjoy the game?" I go, "I don't know." And to this day, I don't know what cricket, I don't know what they're doing out there. But people are cheering, but I didn't have an appreciation of it. Now, for those of you, and this may be the case like today, you may have brought a friend to Mass who's not Catholic. And maybe the first time some of you who are converts came to Mass might have been like, "Well, I don't know what's going on. People standing, sitting, kneeling, seems confusing to me. They're all chanting these things back, sometimes not even in English. And they don't know what they're looking at." It's not their fault. But sometimes things are before our face that may be awesome, wonderful, even transcendent, and we may not even know. I remember seeing a picture of Mother Teresa. They take these photos of her praying, and she was always looked like this, and she had her eyes wide open, her mouth open. And I remember thinking, what's she looking at? What is she looking at? Well, they have other pictures of her, and she's adoring the Blessed Sacrament. That's what she's doing. Now, in Calcutta, which is mostly Hindu, even a non-Catholic may walk in here and see her, wonder what she's looking at, look at what she's looking at, and think she's looking at a cookie. She's looking at a piece of bread. Have no idea it is the Word made flesh. God makes himself vulnerable, adoring Christ the Lord, have no idea what they're looking at. And we're asked today to look at all things with the eyes of faith, to recognize, as God says, God sees differently than we see. He sees the world, each other, ourselves with different eyes, even those people around us. And that is manifest in the reading today of the choosing of David. We have Samuel going to Eli because God is about to choose a king. And Eli brings out 7 of his sons, handsome, strong sons, and says, look at them. Somebody here must be the chosen one. And the answer is no. He might have said, you don't know what you're looking at. These are my sons. They're strong. They're worthy. Surely one of them. To which Eli says, no, you got another son out there? Oh, yeah, the youngest is in the field right now. Brings him up. And Samuel said, that one, David, anoint him. He's the one. Now, I imagine that Jesse had the same questions. They're both looking at David. And Jesse, his father, looks at David and says, he's not much of an account. But God looked at him differently, with different eyes, because God knows what he's looking at. He sees the heart, potential, who he chooses to be a shepherd. And so today we have this story of seeing, of a man who is born blind and experiences healing. But it's a little bit different now, and it causes a division, because this healing, what Jesus does for this man, he heals him, gives him his sight back. He anoints him with his very saliva. You could even say he baptizes him in the water. He converts him. And this man worships Jesus. But this one takes place in the temple, in front of everybody. So everybody can be asked, what are you looking at? What did you just see? And we find out that different people saw different things. This man who was born blind gets his sight back, looks at Jesus, and sees a prophet, a healer, a man sent by God. And I imagine there were some other people there who maybe also were converted, who recognized, I'm looking at this. We saw it happen. We know this man. I know what I'm looking at. I know when I see a miracle. But the leaders of the time, they don't see Jesus as a person from God, as a prophet, a healer. They see him now as a criminal, as someone who's a blasphemer, breaking the Sabbath, an imposter, someone who's dangerous. They see him with the eyes of pride, because they see the same miracle, and as you can see, 3 times they kind of undo it. What'd he do to you? What'd he do to you? What'd he do to you? 3 times. And the blind man kind of loses his cool. He said, I've already told you. Why do you keep asking me? Because if what they saw was real, then that means they may have to change their lives. And that's hard to do. May have to change their belief system. Maybe even change their status in the community. That's hard to do. And so they are blinded by pride. And Jesus even says to them, you are still in your sin if you say you see. Now, I would argue that everybody here could probably point back to a time when they saw things differently. Maybe they saw the world. Maybe they saw your faith. Maybe you saw your own spouse and children differently. You know, even as a priest in my first year and a half of priesthood, there were issues in the church, things in the church that I didn't totally understand, maybe kind of stayed away from. Those are the very issues I teach my classes on now. Sometimes called the tough issues. I call them the beautiful issues. But after being a priest for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I read Theology of the Body for Beginners. And my eyes changed. I started to read more and listen more to John Paul II's Theology of the Body. And suddenly the Mass, my own priesthood, marriage, all looked different. All looked different. You can even say the church looked different. I looked at people differently. It opened my eyes, changed my preaching, changed my outlook. I had a moment, you could say, where Jesus spit in my eye, put mud in my eye, and cleared it away. Thank you, John Paul II. But I would say today, after this Mass, we are baptizing 3 babies today. I love the rite of baptizing babies. I do. It's beautiful because we do a lot of things to them. We will anoint them. We will baptize them with water. We will anoint them again with chrism. We'll bless their ears and their mouth. We'll put a little gown on them and light a candle. It's beautiful. But sometimes at the end of the rite, with the baby there, we'll say, okay, everyone, let's now welcome our new little Christian. And everybody goes, yay. But the baby gets wide-eyed and is like, what are y'all looking at? What's going on here? They're clapping for me. Yes. What are you looking at? Well, we're looking at a regenerated Christian, a child of light, a light to the world. And in some rite, especially in the Eastern rite, we can do it in the Latin rite, but in the Eastern rite, it may be even more shocking to some people what they see, because they will baptize babies naked and full immersion. And what you do is you take the baby, grab him by its butt, his head, and you blow in its face, and they go, and then you go, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And if it's warm water and it's a little boy, sometimes a little fountain of youth will spring. And the people there, especially if they're not Catholic, they're like, what are we looking at? What is going on here? And we have to be able to answer that question because they're seeing with their own eyes and they're wondering, what am I looking at? So we go back to Father George in their inner city ministering to the ladies of the evening and some of those who may not quite be ladies, who walked up to that person who was kind of confused about their gender. And they said to him, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? To which he responded, I'm looking at a child of God. I'm looking at someone who's meant for so much more. Someone in need of healing, need of forgiveness, need of a father. Hopefully that person looked at him and saw a courageous, passionate, loving person. And anyone who's willing to go into those areas of disorder, sin, and division, and marginalization, hopefully they'll see when we go into those areas, they'll be looking at a person who's courageous, passionate, loving, and energetic. Hopefully that's what they will see when they look at us.